Praise the Lord, everyone. Praise the Lord. I am your host, Jacqueline Moore of Testimonies and Praise, and I am here with Mr. Edward Livesay from Mission Addiction. Wow, what does that mean? That kind of means what it says. So I'm going to let Mr. Edward Livesay kind of explain to us exactly what that means. But I know right now we're all going through a bad time and with COVID, and I know a couple of my friends have cancer, and we're just in a situation that we just don't know. We have to leave it all up to Christ to figure out. He knows. He's the author and finisher of our faith. And I met some wonderful people on a software, and Mr. Livesay just happened to be one of those people that I met. And I couldn't help but to bring him on the show. I think what he's doing is magnificent, and I just really want everybody to know that there is help for you, that there really is. And it doesn't have to cost a lot, doesn't have to cost anything at all. But I don't want to spoil too much. I want to first introduce my guest for tonight, Mr. Edward Livesay.
Well, thanks again, Jackie. Appreciate that. And thanks for having me on and everything. Great to meet you this week, and I'm impressed with what
Yeah.
you're doing there as well. Love this format and looking forward to a nice time with you here. Yes,
Yes.
Mission Addiction was sort of put in my lap 5.5 years ago as a business consultant. Just got felt called by God to work on this addiction problem in the area. Um, and eventually that led to creating my own nonprofit. The name was whispered to me by the Holy Spirit. I did not come up with
Wow.
that name. And the day before kickoff meeting, actually, I kind of thought, how did I get here? And what do I call this thing? What do I tell people tomorrow when we have this kickoff meeting? And
Wow.
the name was whispered to me, and it's a play on words too, which is great because I'd spent months trying to come up with that and never did. But the idea is to try to develop a mission addiction, an addiction to God's mission, as opposed to any kind of sin or substance. So we've been at it now as far as services go for about 3.5 years, and
Okay.
started off with a support group and prayer support and some referral services to help people get into treatment, but kept developing classes for that support group, taught a little bit outside of our group, added some counseling, coaching services, a more specialized spiritual healing prayer service. And after, towards the end of 2018, I felt another nudge. We had all these a la carte services and classes and things, and the nudge was, you have a program, put this into a program. This is a program. So we packaged that, started socializing that in 2019. Feedback has been unanimously positive. We've piloted that, we've polished that. And so that's what we would really recommend to a lot of people, the map for healing and recovery. I don't know if I
Wow.
should pause there and let you jump in, or if you want me to say some
Wow.
more. Or...
Well, so healing and recovery, what does that mean? It's not just all, I know everybody think of recovery when they're talking about drugs, but is it a little bit more than that?
It could be anything, right? What we've found, and people have really told us since day one, is that this is, in fact, we've said it in our event notices and things on Facebook and on our website. You did not have to be impacted by addiction or, to join us or to benefit from what we're doing. Some people in the group
Okay.
now would say this is more of a life support group. Now,
Oh,
definitely, we
wow.
we work with that. But if people think, well, that it's full of people doing heroin or people with alcohol, there might be some of that,
Hmm.
but it's other things. It could be relationships, or like you said, health problems,
Hmm.
family issues. Holidays can be a trigger for people,
Oh,
financial
yeah.
issues with COVID and that
Oh,
kind of thing.
absolutely.
Isolation. Unfortunately, isolation tends to breed more isolation and anxiety and depression. And
Yes.
the program that we do, and the map especially, really covers physical, emotional, relational, and spiritual issues. And we would even go farther and say life purpose and serving, to get outside yourself and
Mm.
feel better about yourself, to realize you're not the only one struggling or feeling bad. And when you can help someone else out, it gives you a different kind of boost, right? There's the mission
Absolutely.
addiction. You can feel like, wow, I want more of this.
Right.
That's certainly my story in a nutshell. But that's one of the things that makes us different, I believe, is that we cover all four or six of those, really. physical, emotional, relational, spiritual, life purpose serving.
Mm-hmm.
So we feel like that's a great recipe for healing. We've got a program, a methodical way of doing that. But it's also okay if somebody just wants to talk. It's not like the only way to work with us is to, well, I've got to sign up. That sounds like a big thing. Hey, let's
Right.
just have a conversation to start, right? Give us a
Right.
call,
Yeah.
come to one of the meetings, let's meet and, just take it a step at a time. We've learned that we really have to meet people where they are. And
Absolutely.
that's what I would want. That's what you would want.
Mhm.
Don't assume, don't push me, don't preach at me.
Right.
Let's get to know each other and see where the right fit is.
So you said to come to a meeting. So it, are meetings are they mandatory? Probably. Is
No,
it no?
no, not mandatory. We have an open meeting. Anybody can join. In some addiction support groups, it's only for the person who struggles with addiction or only for the loved one of someone who struggles with addiction. Ours has always
Oh,
been
that's good.
open to anybody. We would
Wow.
welcome the whole family coming just so that the people trying to support can do a good job of
Okay.
supporting instead of possibly
Right.
triggering further. But no, the meetings
Right.
aren't required. Open meeting and with COVID especially, but I think we'll probably
Mhm.
do this to stay.
Right.
We
Right.
have meetings in person or online.
Mhm.
So that helps for someone who's transportation challenged, but that also helps if someone's out of the area.
Wow. So your program, you said you can come to a meeting. So are there licensed social workers there to talk to people? And is it a cost? Is it free or?
That's a couple of good questions there. We have people with the right initials after their names behind them.
Yeah.
So those are part of our advisors, but we're not a state regulated organization. We're
Okay.
not doing insurance and Medicaid, like you said in the beginning. I know we had a little
Mhm.
hiccup there with the technology in the start, but
Right.
we're not taking insurance. There is not a charge for this. We do have a small charge for the program, which I can get into in a little bit. And we're very flexible on that too. We won't turn anybody
Okay.
away.
Right.
Um, but we have people who have been through this. We have people who are very strong in the faith or have
Mm.
some coaching, mentoring background to help people in that six-way approach.
Mm.
Um, so, for example, if you went to a typical treatment center, if you hear somebody in Hollywood, they checked into rehab over the weekend,
Hmm.
mostly what they're probably going to get is emotional and relational support.
Right.
So you don't have to have initials after your name to be able to provide the physical support, the
Right.
spiritual support,
Right.
the love, to be able to meet somebody where they are.
Right.
A frequent comment and compliment I hear is, Edward, you're the best counselor I've ever talked to.
Oh,
You're worth
wow.
more than, the psychiatrists, the other people I've dealt with, or you just talk to me. I feel better when I come to your,
Mm.
meetings or your sessions or whatever.
That's good.
Um, we had a nice little compliment this past week for what it's worth. A lady said, especially now with the time change, it's dark after supper.
It
It's
is.
cold.
Right.
The last thing I want to do is go back outside. But she
Exactly.
said, I always feel better after coming. Now, she could
Oh,
plug in from home. She could plug in
yeah.
virtually like you and I are doing right now. But
Right.
she
Right.
says, I always feel better when I go. And we get that
Wow.
kind of comment. So you don't have to go have the credentials to feel loved and appreciated and accepted and that kind of thing.
Absolutely.
It's a different kind of credentials, maybe, some God credentials.
So are you dealing with a lot of addiction from pain pills, addiction from just any type of addiction? That's what you're offering?
We without boring you maybe with all the research, I mean, just
Right.
a piece of this. Again, I came into this as a business consultant, even hired interns to help research what was going on,
Okay.
because I did not have an addiction background. But what I found appalled me. It disgusted me. I couldn't stand how I saw people being treated.
Yeah.
I couldn't kind of live with the idea of how people get kind of pushed around and mistreated and along the way. Um, and if you look at the data, alcohol kills more people every year than
Hmm.
all the illegal drugs combined.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
nicotine kills more people every year than alcohol and all those other drugs combined.
Yes.
And if you ever get into the sex addictions, food addiction, and behavioral
Mm.
addictions, really,
Oh, wow.
you realize that, or you could say a work addiction. Anybody who feels like
Mm-hmm.
I've got to escape, I can't cope, I don't deal with this. So
Mm-hmm.
anybody who's escaping could use those coping skills, could use that strength, could use that faith
Yeah.
to get better all this. And so that's what
Yeah.
our program gives. I'm not sure if I answered your question all the way. I feel like
Yeah.
I missed one
Absolutely.
angle of it.
It's okay.
I think you asked about all the addictions. And so the answer is
Right.
yes, we saw the need for that, continue to see the need for that. And what most people might not realize outside of the addiction and mental health field is they tend to go together anyway,
Mm-hmm.
addiction and mental health, but
Mm-hmm.
sex addiction almost always has some other substance
Right.
along with it.
Absolutely.
Again, it comes back to the analytical business consultant could see what are the common threads, the root causes in all these cases.
Yeah.
And it came back to the same thing. Am I taking care of myself physically,
Mm-hmm.
emotionally, relationally,
Exactly.
spiritually? Do I
Yeah.
know what I'm doing when I get up in the morning?
Yeah.
Do I know what it's like to get a different kind of high from serving
Mm-hmm.
others? That's what we're trying to help promote, as well as feeling connected. I
Wow.
mean, let's not forget the basics. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
COVID cut us off right away with one
Man.
of our basic human needs, with needing to connect.
Absolutely.
And so just to have that is a big plus. So I hope that
Yeah.
helps
It
answer the
did.
question.
We were just talking this morning at church, and we were saying how people are really needing to be able to touch and to feel, and
Yeah,
even God's word tell us to uh, that we should not forget to come together um, as one. As the body of Christ come together. Forsake not the assembly of the saints together. So when we miss that asset, well, I think it's an asset. Not been able to hug and not been able to
right.
even be in different presents. I mean, just like now, Christmas is coming up, and I don't even look forward to it because Christmas
Mm.
used to be that one um, holiday where my family came together. So now everybody, because of COVID, because my sister-in-law has already been tested, tested positive prior to, she's
Oh,
fine now, but we have to be
good.
careful that we don't, spread it to one another or have symptoms and don't even know it. The asymptomatic, that thing scares me more than anything,
Right.
person asymptomatic. And I just had a friend of mine who did that. So yes, not being able to touch, not being able to talk. And I think right now, a lot of the older generations are really going through a hard time because they cannot get out. They can't go to church. They can't go to their senior citizen
Right.
homes. So it's a lot that's going through that we're going through, and most of us don't like talking to, so quote unquote, a shrink. But I've learned that they
Oh,
are your best friends. you know.
right.
So
Well, and
yeah,
someone again, someone who's skilled and is compassionate can be good too.
yeah,
It doesn't have to be the
yeah,
shrink. We know and can tell in our mission that yes, that's intimidating for some.
yeah,
Call it coaching, call it mentoring, call it guidance, call it a conversation.
yeah.
Um, we don't make anybody lie down on the couch or that kind of thing. But
Okay.
I think a lot of things today just gets down to getting outside of yourself and the
Mm,
worries. The enemy, the devil, is,
yes,
we believe is real. That's the faith.
he is.
Want you to be alone, want you to be cut off. Peter said,
Absolutely.
prowling around like a roaring lion looking for
Yes.
somebody to devour. Well, when we isolate, it's like one of those nature shows, what always happens to the animal who strays from the herd,
Right.
so we have to stay strong, stay with the group, stay with your peeps.
Yeah.
That's part of healing, but part of what we
Right.
can offer too.
So where exactly are you located?
Good question. Our home base is at a Hope Church. I know there's different churches around town called Hope,
Hmm.
at Wilmington and 675. So
Okay.
kind of southeast Dayton, just south of 675, and right
Okay.
across from Miami Valley South. That's our home
Mhm.
base. They've been very gracious with space and using the building very, very regularly. So thank you, Hope Church. We've
Right.
done classes, though, at libraries, and we're currently talking to people about different spaces around town. Now
Sure.
that we've got the idea of conducting classes online, which is working very well, no reason why we couldn't rotate locations. I'm talking to people locally as well as nationally, some of our volunteer network, which we'll hopefully talk about here in a minute,
Absolutely.
about, there's some energy about what we're doing and about the program. Could we, I wouldn't really call it like a franchise, but just a pocket of other interested people who could sign up and do the Tuesday support meeting or the MAP for Healing and Recovery virtually. We can
Okay.
certainly ship the materials, and you can certainly participate in the class. We've had some great discussions and great fellowship
Wow.
online from people all over. The time zones can be a little bit of a challenge depending
Sure.
on how far away they are.
Yes.
But where there's a will, there's a way.
Mm-hmm.
And as people would tell me who have been in addiction, Edward, I spent tens of thousands of dollars or six figures on addiction, or I would walk, for hours to get my drug of choice. So anybody who's serious about this ought to be able to get recovery.
Amen.
And again, addiction to sin or substance of any kind.
Right. So you're saying that this is not a cure-all. We know that. So are you basically saying that you are offering help? It's not in-house. So this is just for like maybe the beginning stage, or this is any stage of the addiction.
If you're talking about any stage of addiction specifically, Jackie, we have yet to put a requirement on that.
Okay.
For people who, let me explain that if I could, for people who are in this field, they're familiar with a term called IOP, intensive outpatient
Okay.
treatment. And so that's usually going to a certain number of meetings and counseling sessions per week. In a way, our MAP for Healing and Recovery is like an IOP.
Okay.
Again, not a state program, not Medicaid, not insurance type of thing.
Right.
So the program is fairly intense. And I'm sorry, what was your exact question? I always get thinking about a couple different angles
I was
here.
just
I'm the
thinking.
founder who knows too much sometimes.
No, I was just thinking that.
Could it?
Yeah.
Could it apply to different people? Sorry, I need to just find my way back there a
That's
minute.
okay.
So typically, I think in an IOP, you should have some level of sobriety under your belt, so many weeks or months type of thing.
Okay.
It's obvious in the short time we've been doing the MAP that would be helpful. But I know you're going to agree with me on this. I'm not going to tell God how he's going to heal somebody.
I know that's real.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And so somebody could be one day sober, but if they feel like they need help and support, and I've seen God just in our orientation sessions, I've seen the hope come through somebody. I've seen the burden come off their shoulders in a first meeting. So we don't have any certain rules about that.
Yeah.
If somebody's dabbling in addiction, we've had that. If somebody's really hooked on alcohol or some other drug, we would probably guide them to some type of a rehab treatment center instead, try to develop a relationship. But the fact is, in that situation, the drugs are in the way.
Yeah.
Not that we don't want to help them. We wouldn't kick them to the curb. We would try to start up a relationship with the loved ones.
Yeah.
And just really get the ball rolling. We would try to welcome them into our family.
Yes.
But people can be in our spiritual family, if you will, even if they're getting that kind of treatment somewhere else.
Right.
But otherwise, it could be later, and it could be someone else. You ask, cure-all. I'd probably say to some extent, I do think this is a cure-all. And it's not because it's Edward's, thing. We feel like this is God's thing, and everything that's not spiritual in our program is based on years of research by experts in the field and that. So we do feel like this is a great prevention program for teenagers. It could be great for high risk people. Could be great for, or is great for couples. I asked one of our young couples in our current series, recently. Do you see why I suggested to just come on through the program? Because
Yeah.
everything we're talking about would help you as a couple, again, physically,
Wow.
emotionally, relationally, spiritually. And they were shaking their
Exactly.
heads. Yes, yes, we get it.
Exactly.
So rather than do it 101, one-on-one, we have the group discussion,
Hmm.
but then the coaching and mentoring helps them go deeper with their situation in more detail.
Wow.
Does that help?
So it does help. So because we are in a COVID um, issue situation, what challenges have
Right.
you faced just dealing with the COVID? I know,
Well, the
yeah.
biggest thing is the isolation, and it just feels like it's one more thing.
Hmm.
I feel like sometimes all of us, somebody might say, I don't understand how somebody become so desperate
Mm.
as to commit a crime or become
Oh, wow.
addicted.
Yeah.
And I think the reality is anybody has a way of feeling at their worst and being their worst if enough things go against you. I feel
Absolutely.
like in my life, I had my time. It
Absolutely.
wasn't addiction related.
Right.
Um, but I could share things just like that's not me. That was not me at my best.
Exactly.
And so that's part of where I get my compassion, and I understand what it means to
Yeah.
rebuild your life from nothing, or how to try to deal with relationships where they all changed whether you wanted them to or not because of what
Exactly.
you're going through. But
Yeah.
when things start stacking up against us like that, um, what do? We tend to not take care of ourselves as much.
Yep.
We tend to isolate more, so we're not talking to people.
Yeah.
A little bit of depression could sink in, and it just kind of feeds on itself, right?
Yes.
Likewise, being in a group and taking care of yourself in other ways feeds on itself
Hmm.
in a like a positive
Positive.
snowball effect.
Yes.
So it's that negative snowball, a little bit of the other things that could be happening,
Hmm.
financial stress and marriage stress. I mean, when a couple has job stress and financial
Yeah.
stress, that shows up in other
It
ways, right?
does.
So just to have that comfort level, that someone to talk to, that
Hmm.
um, the grace and the group of people that can help. We can't do a bunch of this due to lack of funding, at least at the time, but
Hmm.
we've helped people out financially. We've helped people out with other emergency things in their situation.
Okay.
That's a great blessing in
Yeah.
our ministry. One of the ways that we operate, kind of like the book of Acts,
Hmm.
for the people who are familiar with that,
Yeah.
when church wasn't about a building as
Right.
much as it was
Right.
just helping and supporting each other.
Exactly.
So we try to model ourselves off of that and just keep it simple.
So you mentioned before that you had people from out of the all over the United States as help. How does that work, and how do you get people involved?
Well, it's yeah, it's still building. Long story short, I think partially because of COVID, and not just students either, but
Okay.
we have this year we've had volunteers, some clients, in 5 time zones in 17 states, which is
Oh,
we didn't see
wow.
that coming. COVID shut us down and closed some doors in some ways, as it did for the rest of the world.
Yeah.
But God definitely opened up this one.
Yeah.
And one of the beautiful things that's happening is, first of all, more diversity, and we're being more deliberate about that. More youth, and we're
Hmm.
also being more deliberate about that.
Hmm.
But several of these people have confided, maybe not in the initial interview, but they'll tell
Hmm.
us later on when they feel like we're going to be okay with it, is, I'm struggling with something.
Right. Yeah.
and and
Absolutely.
we have
Mm.
fallen into talking with various colleges to create a network where we can support people, and
That'd be awesome.
just maybe two quick success stories that can help you understand this, if that's
Yeah.
okay. The first one was a local nursing student attending another school out of state virtually, and was looking for an internship to help people. And I had a client that I've known for a while, who's a little bit older and a little bit challenged in
Hmm.
different ways in health, and just needed some assistance.
Hmm.
And so we connected those two in an official pilot program, if you will.
Hmm.
and that client ended up getting baptized, is
Oh,
going through our program
oh,
right now,
wow.
has gone through our healing prayer session, and really unloaded a lot of past hurt and lack of forgiveness. And this person
Wow.
is doing better by their own admission
Yeah.
than they have in a lot of ways, and it's all because we have this connection. Now
Mhm.
that's a local example, but I have somebody else in San Diego who is just
Mm.
obviously gifted at working with people and a gifted listener. And it turns out, and this person started off doing some research and different things, contributing to the cause,
Mhm.
but has an interest in helping people. Well, it turns out one of our young volunteers in the same time zone, in a similar, or not a similar, but in the same ethnicity and culture,
Yeah.
tried to hurt themselves,
Oh,
and that came to our attention, and we were able to connect with them.
yeah.
And so, I'm the older, hopefully wiser person,
Yes.
mature and wise, I like to say,
Right.
versus old.
Right.
But we connected, the three of us, and just had the most special conversation and connection. And
Mm.
this was two people in different parts of California and me. And
Oh,
again,
wow.
I just see it expanding and growing this way. And what could look like, I mean, this is part of my faith testimony. We might think
Mm.
we have this setback. I could have grumbled and been all disappointed in February, March, when all this was hitting.
A
Look
lot
at
of us
what God
were.
has done this year, and
Yes.
some of the neat things that are happening. And
Yes.
it's not just me. It's that the blessings are happening everywhere.
Yeah.
The older coach volunteer was blessed. The younger student hurting was blessed.
Mm.
People are blessed by the contributions they're making, and they're
Yeah.
directly or indirectly helping people in the mission. The school is blessed.
Right.
We had a widow out of work helping us for a little while in the Seattle area. Um, it was kind of funny. This is irrelevant, but it's just a comical thing.
Uh-huh.
Not only did she go through the COVID shutdown, but then they had the fires out there, and they were
Oh,
encouraged to stay inside because of the
wow.
smoke.
Yeah.
But inside on her own, empty nester,
Uh-huh.
she was providing help to our mission, which was a
Wow.
huge help.
Wow.
So I mean, all of a sudden we had this older person in Seattle helping. So I hope
Praise
that's just
God.
giving yeah,
Yeah.
exactly, giving some
Yeah.
ideas of how people of all ages and situations can plug into a cause. Um, and that triggers something else for me, Jackie, if I'm not talking
Uh-huh.
too much, where I can just
No,
share
you're not.
another
You're
angle of
fine.
this.
Yes.
I knew this, I saw this coming in early before we even had mission addiction. I had a couple of years where I was consulting and researching and hanging around with the local drug task forces and things like that.
Mm.
But it became very obvious to me in the big church where I was teaching Sunday school, and people I would share, I'm doing this, I'm researching this thing. It just feels like it's pulling me in. And
Yeah.
people would say, well, I want to help. I want to volunteer, but I don't know
Mm-hmm.
how. And
Mm-hmm.
my corporate background and my analytical background, I understand how big organizations should work and how it all goes together. And it
Right.
just feels like God was preparing me to see all these different moving parts and how that can
Um,
work. And so, very much so, we have a mission of serving people. But I would
okay.
say equally important is that we have a mission to equip this other army of people. It's not, my hand's not showing up here with the virtual screen, to equip
Right.
this army to go serve this other army.
Yeah.
So we have to have that, and that's one of the beauties of what we're doing, is to truly train and disciple a caring group
Mm.
of people,
Yes.
a field church, if you will, who's going to serve the other group of people, and perhaps the clients become the volunteers, and
Yeah.
it just keeps replicating and going.
Absolutely.
So
Wow.
I hope that helps, but
It
that's all
did.
exciting. That's where I start to get charged up
No,
about it all.
I think this is a great organization that God has gifted you with, because there are so many people that
It
I
is.
know and that I see that need help. And I think the main thing is to get, I didn't know where you were located. And I'm like, this is sad, because this is a great opportunity for us to be helped. And it's you got, and you've been in business for about 3 years now, and
About 3.5, right?
about 3.5 years, and more people need to know about you. And I think more people need the service and just given up. So that was my main reason for it, because I've done a
Right.
show before on dealing with depression and dealing with all types of
Mm,
bouts of addiction and stuff like that. And we, as African American, my family, we never really don't talk about stuff, but most people, we kind of hide
mm,
it. And I didn't
right.
realize that hiding so much had caused me so much anxiety. Even when I was telling you, I went to the doctor last week, and the stress, my vocal cords I wasn't able to sing as much as I could. And she told me that I was
Right.
stressed all up in here. And I'm like, I don't feel stressed. She said, you don't have to feel stressed, but you are definitely stressed. And we started talking, and just tears started pouring, because I'm like, I thought I was over that,
Mm,
even though I had forgiven a person that had, I thought, done me wrong, which I know that person did, but I had not forgiven myself for going through
right.
that situation. So it's double fold that no one has ever talked to me about. So, yeah, we
Right.
talk about forgiveness, but we don't talk about forgiving ourselves. And I think even if we forgive somebody, that tends to be in the back of our head, oh, I really deserved it, or, da 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 da. But we have to let this
Right.
out. We have to allow God to really take, and he said, leave your burdens at the altar. Leave them there. Don't
Right.
take them with us. But we tend to, okay, God, I give you this much. I trust you this much, but I'll pull back because I think I can handle it myself. And we're making a mess and a mockery out of so much. So an organization like Mission Addiction I think is very, very needed. And I'm thankful for you to even
Well,
be a part of it. I can't wait. What can I do? And people like me who I know are looking for something to do during COVID. And I know you need the help. So what is it that we can do from home and what we can do from abroad? I know you need help. So let's get you some help.
right. Well, thank you and bless you for that, Jackie. You just said a mouthful there. Can you help me remember, because my
I
brain gets
know.
funky. Help me
I'm
remember the
sorry. I
what
have
do we need
missed it.
help with? No, but I'd like to go back if it's okay and
Yeah.
pick up on what you said about you know, being slow to ask for help.
Yeah.
Uh, a good question for something like this is what would be one of the surprises?
Mhm.
And I'm surprised, and continually I respect and need to appreciate the shame
Mm.
really that comes from all of the human connection. And one of the researchers we quote and use in our materials talks about toxic shame, and that's what
Mm.
it can be. And we just feel like we're the only ones, and you wouldn't like me if you knew what
Mm.
I've really
Mm.
done or what I've been through, or you saw me at my worst. And I don't want you to
Yeah.
see that, but it's exactly
Yeah.
what you said. The devil wants us to
Mm.
keep it inside, where it just
Absolutely.
poisons us and festers in there. But if we let it go
Yeah.
and let it go in a
Yeah.
healthy way, that's what it's
Yeah.
about, and it's a freedom.
Amen.
That really
Yes.
is a lot of the how did we just say, unshackling the chains, breaking free from the chains. So I just
Absolutely.
wanted to touch on that. And if anybody's out there listening right now, just realize one of the greatest things about any support group, forget addiction, just any kind of support group, is
Mhm.
as soon as you start hearing from someone else, you realize, oh, I'm not the only one. And you
Yeah.
might also realize, that maybe you could help that other person. Maybe you've been through something that could help
Yes.
that other person. Segueing to your question about how people can help, one of the things that hit me right off the bat in our support meetings was I had people in addiction who felt like they were the only ones. Nobody could
Mm.
understand me. And I had
Mm.
Christians who had heard about us maybe through the church I came from,
Mm.
Southbrook, one of the mega churches in the area. And they felt like, well, we can't help because we don't know an addiction. And
Mm.
it happened quite naturally, and I felt like it was a God thing to be able to tell both sides, you're wrong. Everybody
Right.
can help everybody.
Right.
You know, all volunteers can help a mission like this, whether you have the
Yes.
background or not. We'll help you
Right.
get up to speed. We'll help train you in that. And people in addiction or mental health challenges, isolation, it's not, you know, you're not the only one.
Right.
You might have certain areas that are unique to you. We all have that.
Right.
But the reality is, there's commonalities in addiction with shame,
Mm.
with divorce, with grief.
Yes.
So yes, come forward and don't resist. I know it's easy to say that, but that's where I would say too, Jackie, like we said in the very beginning, a phone call, a
Yes.
text, an email, come to one meeting, uh, do anything but take the step forward.
Yes.
Um, do something different. That old definition of insanity. You
Right.
can't keep doing the same thing
Right.
and expect different results.
Exactly.
Um, your question of, you know, how do you get plugged in or what kind of help do we need?
Right.
Um, so um, couple of different things, I guess. And I should say too, uh, we need to come back to the map in the upcoming series at some point.
Absolutely.
But if you go to our website, mission-addiction.org,
Mhm.
you have to put the little hyphen or dash in there, mission-addiction.org. There is a get involved tab, and underneath that, there's a volunteer tab, and there is an online application, and there's also a link that lists some positions that are defined. The reality is, I think it says even on the page, we customize almost every position to the person. So I'm amazed too. This would be one of a top 10 list of surprises. Most people think volunteering is, oh, I got to show up at a certain time, and I'm
Mhm.
not going to feel like it some days, and I'm going to be overcommitted.
Right.
We almost don't have any positions like that. You know, it can be virtual. We cater to your schedule. Looks like you're sharing a screen here. Are you trying to pull up the website?
Yes. Do you see it?
Okay. I see a picture of a nice couple.
Okay. 1 second. I'm
I don't
sorry.
see, it might be a home screen there.
Give me 1 second. I'm sorry. I'm trying to bring up yours.
Oh,
Here it
you're
is.
fine.
Okay. Go about now.
Yeah, there we go. So there's our home page. And so if you go under Get Involved, on the home page there, it says a little bit different, but right there in the middle, and then volunteering. If you just hover over the volunteering there in the middle, it'll come up all the
There.
way at the top, or you can click it there either way. So there's a little bit more about us, but there's an online form people can fill out to express their interests and things like that. And then there's some job listings there as well. And so that's how we get acquainted a little bit more and what you were interested in. But again, we will customize that for people.
Okay.
But I was starting to say, I read another discipleship author, Mike Breen, talk about 5 capitals, 5 ways of
Mm.
exchanging currency, if you will.
Okay.
And if you think about volunteering, a lot of people think, oh, they're just going to ask for money.
Right.
Well, he would say money is the least important of the 5.
Mm.
Trust me, any new nonprofit could use the money. We
Mhm.
could use
Right.
donations if people are blessed financially. But
Absolutely.
he would say it also comes down to, what do you know?
Mm.
You know, what's on your resume? What are your different levels of expertise? Some people don't realize this, but if you have a certain level of expertise, you could contribute to our mission with
Absolutely.
one phone call, by
Yeah.
being a sounding board, by being an advisor or a consultant. It's not about plugging in a certain shift every week.
Right.
There could be something like that. There could be something that's physical labor.
Mhm.
But another one people often forget is, who do you know?
Mm.
We've had contributors to our mission who didn't do anything other than connect us with potential clients and
Wow.
potential partners.
Yeah.
So if we said we could use an attorney, or we could use somebody who knows social media,
Uh-huh.
they have a big Rolodex file, if you will, and can maybe connect us with somebody. So don't underestimate who you know.
Right.
Um, and then the last one he would consider the most important is your spiritual guidance or your prayers. So we have
Mhm.
a prayer team. You can join our prayer team and pray for the mission, or pray for the people in our
Praise
mission
God.
that need that support. So a lot of different ways to volunteer as well.
Yeah.
So thank you for letting me get that
Absolutely.
plug in there. Any other
Exactly.
questions
Absolutely.
you can think about for volunteers? I mean, some of the hot items or the locations we are interested in looking at other locations around Dayton at least,
Yeah.
but
When
could
you
be
mentioned that,
elsewhere.
I was thinking of if there's any churches that's available. I'm thinking off my head. I know of several churches that may be able to have you at least have like an what do you call it? A offsite. What do you call that?
Like a satellite.
Like a satellite. Oh, yeah. That way, for those who live on the west side, will have opportunities. Because right now, if they don't have opportunity to get all the way out to Wilmington, then maybe you could have something in that area
Right.
for them.
Right.
Of course, Zoom is
And
always.
as we,
Go ahead.
sorry, Jackie, I
No,
was
no,
just gonna say, and as
no.
we discussed too, we could rotate, right? Whether it's me or someone else doing the teaching. One week we
Absolutely.
could teach in Trotwood, the next week we teach in North Dayton or Xenia, and then come back to Hope. And on the off weeks, other people will be virtual. That way you get the best of both worlds. If there's a
Yeah,
satellite, you can have some local fellowship in that as well.
exactly.
So yeah, again, it's one of those where there's a will, there's a way. But if somebody feels like they have um, the little bit of technology
Mhm.
that we would need in a little meeting space,
Right,
still staying COVID compliant,
right,
if we had pockets of 5 and 10 instead
right.
of 50 or 100 in one room,
Exactly.
that could all work. We could use some development help, social media help,
Mhm.
maybe executive assistant help. We have some volunteers stepping up in a lot of those areas. Would love to have somebody for diversity here in Dayton.
Right.
Have some great people around the country, but I would love to have somebody here in town
Mhm.
that knows Dayton and knows some of the contacts that could help us
Right.
in that respect.
Yeah.
Um, so the list goes on and on. That website would be good. And
Yes.
for anybody who's maybe browsing around the website now, could I give the little map plug and how that's coming up
Absolutely.
here too? Is
Please.
that be
Please.
okay? Thanks. You're being so kind here.
Oh.
Appreciate it. Um, but yeah, so the map for healing and recovery program, that's described on the website as well under services. So services I think was maybe 2 tabs away from the get involved. The very
Okay.
first service listed is I think it says
The
aftercare
aftercare.
program.
Okay.
Right. So clicking on that would give you the details. It's on our Facebook page as well. You can find the event on Eventbrite as well.
You want me to pull
But
it up for you?
you can. It's not necessary though.
Oh.
Um, but there's a pretty full description in there. There you go. Yeah, start 2021 off right. New year, new hope, new life. Um, and the details about the orientation sessions. Most people don't realize how comprehensive our program really is. And so it
Mm.
helps to come to the orientation session, maybe bring the significant other or the son, daughter, mother, father, just to get complete support, because we would welcome the loved ones to come and see parts of this too.
Yes.
They may want to attend all of it, but maybe they would just attend the communication relationship section, for
Mhm.
example, or how to support the loved one who's in recovery right now. So
Right.
all kinds of details there. And then at the very bottom, there's a frequently asked questions and some positive feedback from people who've been through it before.
Mhm.
Um, there's some information about cost there. It's very little. And again, we're very flexible with it.
Mhm.
Um, Comes out to be about $4 an hour, like putting money in the collection plate, I like to say.
Exactly.
But again, like the very first line there, won't turn anybody away because of financial situations. We have
Right.
sponsorships and flexibility. People can volunteer their way through the program.
Oh,
We're pretty
really?
flexible with that too.
Okay.
Right. Yeah.
So you said that it's about $4 an hour. So is it possible for a person to pay as they go, or
Absolutely.
okay,
Yeah, we've had all scenarios. We've
okay,
had people wait till the end, or then maybe they pay it later, or just say, well, okay, you pay for the next one. We'll cover you, or we have a
okay.
sponsor
Mhm.
that would support you. So that would be another plug for this show, is if anybody feels like, this isn't for me, but I'd like to sponsor somebody, that would be a
Absolutely.
great Christmas gift. And if I could just say something, I don't want to,
Absolutely.
I'm not a built-in fundraiser. I'm not in the habit
Right.
of asking for money. I need to add that to my skills in that.
Right.
But I do want to say, a nonprofit leader, right? You have to be good at that.
Right.
In all sincerity and seriousness, I wish people could see when somebody comes to the orientation or we explain this program to them and they get their hopes up, you can see their eyes start to light up. And a big thing in addiction and mental health, the fancy word is self-efficacy. And what that means is, I feel like I can do this. I have hope where I didn't have hope before. And what happens in this conversation, especially if they're thinking of signing up, is they get to the point and they'll say, well, how much does it cost?
Yeah.
And they'll feel like that's where the hope stops. And when I can say, you know what, I have 10 sponsorships waiting, someone already was thinking of the next person who would sign up.
Praise God.
So if you want it, it's yours. And you should see the
Yes.
expression on their face when they
Yes.
realize, and in a way it feels like, I'm getting goosebumps just saying it right now, when they realize this is a God thing. You mean
Yes.
someone else is taking care of this for me?
Yes.
Someone else cares about other human beings.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's just a real heartwarming little moment. So yes, if there's anybody out there who wants to sponsor, that's great. But
Amen.
we just have all different ways of getting there from here. And I haven't said it yet, Jackie. You're great to talk to, period. And I get charged up about the mission here, obviously. But the next two, I mean, the dates are on that website, but Thursday night, January 7th, and Saturday morning, January 9th. Either one, you don't do both, but just do one or the other. That would be the time
Okay.
to come in and check out the program and ask questions and that. Those two orientation dates are on the website, on Facebook, on Eventbrite. And then what we're planning is a Thursday night series. And exact
Okay.
times and setup is going to be determined by the participants. So we'll talk about it orientation and finalize that later.
Okay.
Um,
Wow.
But
So this starts
program,
in January and it lasts, and how long does it last?
that's a good question. I was getting ready to go there, but thank you for asking
Sorry.
it. The typical program is 30 weeks,
Oh.
30 weeks.
Oh, wow.
And that would be maybe 2-hour sessions each. And again, that would include the coaching, mentoring to go along with it, and any of our other services. It's kind of a package deal.
Okay.
I have a couple of people thinking maybe we would like shorter sessions and more of them, just to make it a little bit easier. And I'll go by group consensus. I'm flexible. Might be a little harder on me to do more sessions.
Exactly.
But I hope that also shows where our heart is. We want to help. It's not like do it our way or else. We want to be flexible and meet people where they are and help them get in here and get the traction in it. Could I tell one other quick story on that?
Absolutely. Yes, sir.
You give me the hook of that, whatever you use
You're
to
fine.
shut people up on this.
You're fine.
I promise we'll be done by midnight. Just kidding. But one of our favorite people in the mission came in 2 years ago, almost exactly, and pretty shy, her and her fiance, and got to like the mission and became committed. And we just started doing this last summer.
Yeah.
She decided to join the January group and graduated in September. And this is someone who's sweet as can be, but had multiple addictions and incarceration and that. So this was a harder case, years and family situations and such.
Yeah.
Sweet as can be, one of our favorite people in the mission. But anyway, she at orientation, she says, this feels really long. And about 6 weeks in, she says, this is going really fast. And and she says, and it's really good. And then at graduation, she says, we're doing pictures and certificates and everything. She says, is there going to be a part 2?
Oh, wow.
Isn't that sweet? I just love that. That just made my year. In other words, she wanted to keep going.
She wanted to keep going.
But yes, for anybody who feels like, geez, what is this? Well, again, that's kind of the intensive outpatient program. But we also designed it God designed it, because I didn't come into this mission thinking we were going to have this program. He put it in front of me. But we're trying to address all those root causes and make this be the last program you go through. Would you believe I've met people who've gone through, I think the record I've talked to is 29 treatment programs.
Oh, wow.
Relapses and dealing with this for decades. I mean, I didn't know that coming in from the outside. that hurts me when I hear about that,
Oh my
so
God.
we feel strongly about this. It may not be for everybody.
Mm.
Another question people ask, and it's on the website, you don't have to be a Christian. We're obviously
Yeah.
a Christian organization. But if somebody
Yes.
is neutral about God or even angry about God right now,
Mm.
uh,
Mm-hmm.
we're not going to twist your arm. I'd rather
Right.
just have the conversation.
Yeah.
I know we can help you in a lot of different ways. A lot of times that's because you've been turned off by a church or a person. And
Yes, Lord.
um, sometimes with incorrect, either actions or teaching. So
Yes.
we respect that and we're willing to work with that. We've had
Yeah.
people from other
Mm.
faiths be volunteers.
Mm.
Um, and they've been great volunteers.
Wow.
So just want to help people see that the door's open.
Praise
I
God.
hope that's coming across.
Oh, yes. I definitely believe that it's coming across. I definitely believe that God has planted this into your spirit, because everybody can't do
Absolutely.
this. And I believe that you are the person to do it. And I'm very, very excited about becoming, putting something else on my plate. Yes, I am. But being a part of this organization, I believe it's God filled, and I believe it's God sent, that we as a people need to have someone in our corner. Yes, it's a Christian organization, but like you said, that you don't have to be a Christian to be a part of this. That part comes later. I believe just by showing the
Right.
love of Jesus, showing people that, I do care, and I don't care about where you've been in the past. Your past doesn't matter. And I think we can put
Right.
labels on people so quickly. And if it wasn't for the grace of God, we would all be looking at a whole different way. So I
Yeah,
thank
you're right.
God for you, for this organization, and I thank God for how we met, because I know that was a God thing.
It,
I
it, it
know it
wasn't, it
was.
wasn't an accident.
It was not an
Not at all.
accident. No, sir.
And,
So
and, and those
yeah,
kind of things keep happening.
and it's
The
gonna. I
volunteer who
believe
says,
that.
"Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, I was praying." I have a game-changing volunteer, another one in California, not the other two I mentioned, but
Uh,
another one. And she told me at the end of the interview a week or so ago, um, Pastor Edward, can I just confide in you kind of thing? I didn't want an internship.
yeah.
I wanted a mission. I
Oh,
was praying for a mission to plug into.
wow.
She wanted something bigger. And
Wow.
so she was just, and she told me in the next email she sent me, she said, I've been praising God, for this opportunity to my family and everybody. And that's what we've been getting. And I'm
Yeah.
a strategic planner, right? I'm this business geek and a little bit of a financial geek. And, God's the ultimate strategic planner, and
Absolutely.
he's just making things happen. And
Absolutely.
yeah, it's not perfect. We're still, plugging along,
Yeah.
but he's definitely guiding it. And it's a blessing. If I could share another faith thing on that note too, and I said my faith testimony is what I have to offer
Yeah.
people. I wish I knew the exact scripture. I have it in the teaching, and with all the technology, I feel like I don't have to memorize
Right.
everything. Lots of things swirling around my old brain these days. But one of the great teachings of Jesus himself was, if you go try to find yourself, you'll probably fall short.
Mm.
But if you look for me,
Yes, God.
you're going to find me
Mm.
and find yourself.
Mm.
And that's so much at the core of what we're doing.
Mm.
It's
Yeah.
counterintuitive. Um, I remember telling the church where I taught Sunday school that if you would have told me I needed to volunteer every week, 20 years ago, I would have said
Right.
you're crazy. But after getting into it and doing it and realized how great it was,
It is. Yes.
and how honestly I found myself through serving and through doing
Yeah.
this kind of thing. And
Yes.
the same person who well, you heard this the other night at our social event,
Mm-hmm.
um, the lady who said, I want everybody to have this. Well, that's kind of what discipleship is. But now that she's been through it and she gets it more, and she's been healed, and she's
Mm-hmm.
not dealing with all the negatives, she's risen above that.
Mm-hmm.
And frankly, she's still, like all of us, she's still, soaring. She's still on her way up. But that was the main
Absolutely.
thing she wanted you to hear was, I want everybody to know what this
Praise
feels
God.
like.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's at the core of what we're about.
Yeah.
We're not meant to
Yeah.
live in the doldrums, and
That's
um,
right.
we're
That's
meant to
right.
thrive and have fun and
Yeah.
enjoy. And
That's right.
and find ourselves in the process. So I hope that
Amen.
helps.
I do know that the enemy wants us to stay in a situation where we don't have hope, but God has given us hope.
Exactly.
God continues to give us hope. And for some reason, that the word hope just continuously is in my face. I just joined another group called Hope Letters, and
Okay. All
that
right.
that it's dealing with the prison and writing letters to them. Now I'm involved in an organization called Mission Addiction that's giving hope to God's people, because we are all God's people, and God died for all of us,
Amen.
whatever color, creed, whatever we are. So
Absolutely.
I liked I love what your car. I think I was reading some part, and it says you are valuable. I think I even put it on the flyer. You're valuable. You are
Right.
unique, and you can reach your full potential and learn how our faith-based recovery can work for you. So yes, you do matter. Yes, God does love you. Yes, there is a place for you to go. Even if you've been through 29 different types of drug treatments, maybe you didn't go to the right one. I believe that if you just give God one more time, because He's given us time after time after time after time to get it right. And I believe that God has placed Mr. Livesay in my life for the time as this, to share this wonderful organization with people, to give them hope. So if you're looking, you're needing, you can reach out to him. If you can please give out the number again. I don't think we did that. If you can please give the
Yeah,
number one more time.
yeah, we're not very good business people here, are we?
That's okay.
937 937-490-9605.
No,
And
one
it's
more
on the
time.
website and on the contacts page. Yeah, 937-490-9605.
Praise God.
Email edward@mission-addiction.org if
Amen.
somebody would rather reach out in writing first.
Yes.
You can text at that 490 number, 490-9605, edward
Yes.
at mission-addiction.org. It's all on the website, Facebook.
Praise God.
Our team is standing by, and
Amen.
we'd love to help you and your family.
Praise God. There's nothing else to be said. God loves you, and so do I. And I pray that you will see and seek help from one of God's divine men of God, and in the in the presence of Mr. Edward Livesay. So thank you so much for being here. Thank you for allowing God to
Total
use
pleasure.
you. And I will continue to keep you in prayer. And you guys, if you ever need any help, you need help. I can't stress that, because we need to know. I put on the flyer the first step in realizing you need help. The first step is just realizing that you need it.
Yeah.
Sometimes we don't even realize it. I didn't even know I had stress in my neck, but now I realize that. So I had to go seek help to get it. So there's nothing wrong with help, nothing wrong with help. And God has placed people in our lives just for this. So if anyone else needs help, Mission Addiction is a place for you. So we'll see you next time on Testimonies and Praise. God bless you. God loves you. And I love you. And ain't a thing you can do about it.